Greetings and salutations, loyal viewers of this channel. My name is Sean, and over the years on the internet.com, I have faced a lot of criticism, a lot of allegations, or as the Superman would say, alizations.
False alizations and not facts.
That my content is just chock full of evil white racism, and normally I'd let this kind of thing go. Normally I ignore it because honestly it just comes over and over and over again. It's usually backed up by nothing, but today is special. Today I was linked a time code in a live stream that honestly may be one of the funniest, as in terrible, criticisms that I've ever received. This is borderline Lance from the Surfs level, if not an even weaker criticism than Lance from the Surfs, because this genius, known as Tomfoolery, who appears to be a Destiny fanboy, has decided that my content is evil, white, and racist due to the fact that I have too many black people in my thumbnail. And that really, really bothers him because he's uncomfortable with seeing anybody talk at all who happens to not be black about black people. But before we get into this, I want to thank everybody who supports this channel via actualjusticewarrior.com/join.
Give me the money. Give me the money. Okay?
And without further ado, let us get into the worst criticism I may have ever received in 8 years of producing content on this platform.
I would say easily under.
He covers the repeat offenses issues put on by justice reforms that are not helping the issues that were intended to help, in my opinion. I don't really watch AJW frequently.
So it all starts off with a fellow called Jimmy Beam. Now, I'm sure if you were to go back into this live stream, you could find other instances of this person talking about me, but the fact of the matter is, this response is what set up the clip that we're going to talk about. So I just want you guys to see his chat, understand that he is the hero for bringing you entertainment today, because the response to this point about how I cover issues with repeat offenses or criminal justice reforms that go wrong is actually a pretty good, accurate summation of what I do for the majority of my channel. And I gotta give this guy credit because, again, we would not have this glorious attempted refutation from Tomfoolery if not for this chat. So Jimmy Beam, from me to you, thank you, buddy. I appreciate you.
He does, well, because he lives in New York, obviously. I can give even more and say, okay, in New York, there's going to be even more people who may be black or brown that are going to be committing crimes there. And so we can say even maybe 40%, 45%.
So right off the top, we have the first giant red flag that I want to highlight, and that is right here, him saying he lives in New York, so he covers New York stuff. And to be fair, in New York, we're going to have more people who commit crimes that are black or brown or black or Hispanic. And yeah, that's, going to be about 45%. Which is probably one of the most ridiculously stupid points that you can make, especially when we have numbers, and one of the things that we find out through those numbers is that the black and Hispanic population of New York City is over the percentage that he gave. So if they're 50% and they're committing 45% of the crime, then they would be committing a disproportionately low amount of crime, and that is just not the case. In fact, when you go to NYPD crime statistics, what you'll discover is that in multiple major categories, they represent 90% of the crime. Also very notable is that the victimization rates are incredibly high, but one of the things that you'll figure out about these lefties is that they are so uncomfortable when it comes to talking about non-white people that they would rather allow non-white people to be victimized than actually address the problems in those communities, than actually talk about the issue of crime in any meaningful way. And by the way, I will link, I believe it's the last 20 years of NYPD crime data where you can look at charts like the ones that I'm putting on your screen right now, so you can see for yourself that this is a consistent pattern throughout the years.
Say, okay, in New York, there's going to be even more people who may be black or brown that are going to be committing crimes there. And so we can say even maybe 40%.
Now, I know this is going to sound incredibly dumb and obvious to you guys out there in the audience that actually watch my content, but I don't only cover New York City stories. I may highlight New York City stories, or they may jump out to me more because I actually live here, or because a New York State bail reform law leads to a bunch of negative consequences. But what I tend to look for in a story to highlight is not the most vicious crime, is not the most racially charged crime, or anything like that. It is a crime that can be directly attributed to policy, because crimes happen all the time and we can't really change most of them. We can't really impact most of them. We can't really prevent most of them. But when you have a bad public policy that consistently leads to a result, I want to highlight those crimes because I want change in that public policy. But this is not exclusive to New York City, or anything of the sort. I cover stories from around the country because certain bad policies have been implemented around the country. And by the way, New York City is disproportionately safer than most big cities. In fact, it is still, even with the recent upticks in crime, the safest big city due to proportional increases in other cities.
And he does talk about, yes, like repeat offenses, people getting let out, those sorts of things. But it's still, again, like he's not really talking about white people getting let out very often. He's not talking about white people being given a bail. He's not talking about white people's crimes getting dropped. He's not, like, it is.
So this is where the allegation comes in. He's not really talking about white people getting out. He says with bail, but again, I'm assuming he means, or he's at least vaguely trying to reference without bail, which is the issue that I have with a lot of New York City stories that I cover. And again, if you were to look at the numbers, proportionately, there's not a lot of white people committing these serious crimes. And then again, I also have to look for repeat offenders that were recently released due to bail reform policies. So a lot of times that comes up how it comes up. And again, I will point out that most of the time when you have a black perpetrator or Hispanic perpetrator, the victim in that instance isn't a white person. So it's typically a black person or Hispanic person. So part of the reason I point this out is because I don't want them victimized. But, you know, never talk about that, because, oh my God, you could never ever criticize these people because it makes tomfoolery uncomfortable. He doesn't understand how I can just speak about these issues in a concise way because he's so uncomfortable every time he looks at a black person.
I mean, we can go to his channel real quick. It's pretty easy to see. It's going to be hard to show on the short screen.
Now, you guys might be wondering why I left this in, and that is to tease you, to get you excited for what is to come. Because honestly, people not knowing crime statistics, accusing me of being an evil white racist, that's all standard fare stuff I've experienced before. But this guy decided to pull up my channel, not to watch and or analyze any of my videos, but to say that the thumbnails are evil white and racist because black people appear in the thumbnails. And no, I'm not kidding. This is actually the case that this guy's gonna make. And it's kind of amazing.
So yeah, right off the rip, here you go. Teen mob savagely beats driver for fun. And it is brown and black guys there. There's an Asian guy.
So first of all, I just want to point out that the first video that he highlighted at the time that he did this was a Los Angeles video. And the mob in that video appeared to be Latino largely, in my opinion, based on me watching the footage and making the video. Although he did say black and brown, but I just want to highlight that. And the next video, he says there's black and brown people in there.
Here's a brown and a black guy and another black guy. They're robbing a grocery store.
But to be clear, that's a story about migrant crime and a suspect as young as 11 being arrested, and all of the migrants in that video were also Latino. Now, I just want to highlight his complete inability to identify a black person because I find that funny, even when the title, Migrants, New York City, would probably give that away, because that's amusing to me. But to be clear, he is making the case that the evil white racism is not only about black people, but it also extends to Latino people, which is something that I'm going to discuss very seriously with my wife and with half of my family, because I just can't control myself, apparently.
Here's a black guy in front of a car.
So just to give you an idea of how stupid this analysis is, the black guy in front of the car, he was hit by the car. The story, indicated by the title, is about that man getting hit by a car and the guy being so happy about it, he posted it on social media for entertainment value. So that black guy, he was the victim in the story. He circled in there. The title, it says he was hit. It indicates that clearly for you. This is the video that was posted by the driver for entertainment value. Now, it is likely, even though the suspect has not been revealed because it's in the city of Detroit, that the driver is a black person, but that's not the person in the thumbnail. I just want to point that out.
Here's TYT.
So, no, that is not TYT. What are you even talking about? That was Anna from my intro where I have her say, give me the money.
Give me the money.
You give me the money.
Give me the money.
Okay.
Okay?
Not a TYT video. One of the things that maybe would give that away is the fact that it says Disney, and I have an image of a creepy Mickey Mouse. This is about Disney trying to say their Disney Plus subscription makes them immune from lawsuits.
Black cop and black criminal.
So first of all, I want to give tomfoolery credit for achieving a level beyond your typical leftist by appropriately labeling Michael Brown a black criminal. Now, the point of this particular story was not about Michael Brown's actions. It was about a cop getting a traumatic brain injury because they were still rioting on the 10-year anniversary of Michael Brown being killed, which, by the way, was a 100% justified shooting. Read the Department of Justice report. But it is heartwarming for me to see somebody on the left label Michael Brown a criminal because he was committing a crime. And I appreciate that. It only took 10 years and a cop to get a traumatic brain injury, but thank you, buddy.
San Francisco forces victim to pay $50,000. So we got a white guy as a victim here, with what looks like a bunch of black people out in the streets.
Also, I'm not gonna lie, this is funny to me because he's like, also there's a bunch of black people out there in the streets when he goes over it and you can see cars moving around. So I guess he's just assuming that the people participating in the street takeover happen to be black people. But just so you guys know, the person who ended up slamming into that particular guy's building, there's not video footage of it. We actually never caught that guy. So we don't know who that person was, but nice assumption.
We got a black guy and a black cop here.
Again, there's no context right here. He's like black guy and a black criminal right here. The black cop was murdered while off duty. He was shot with a pistol that was modified to fire automatically by somebody who was released 8 years early on a sentence, picked up again for a weapons charge. And by the way, he has multiple felony convictions for crimes with firearms. And then they let him go, even though they should have violated his parole. So no context matters right here. The black cop that died right there, no reason to talk about that because, you know, evil white racism to have black people in your thumbnail.
5 times felony, early release, kills cops. So we got a brown guy over here.
So in this particular instance, he says the brown guy over here, that would be the hero of the story. That Latino guy, he saved a girl, a 15-year-old girl. Somebody was trying to attack her. He defended her.
2 black people, gang of black people, black woman, whole screen of black people.
So he ends up highlighting a bunch of thumbnails right there, and I'm just gonna knock them out really quickly because he labels the super mayor just black people. And honestly, shame on y'all for that.
We got to sit here and do these speeches every board meeting, being here to 10, 11 o'clock at night. Ain't even got to the agenda. Because everybody want to say they look sideways stuff, and then now we got to sit here try to remember what y'all saying and then say something back just to tell the residents or show them that we are doing what's right. Because y'all got false narratives out there, and y'all should be ashamed of y'allself. Y'all black. Y'all are black. And y'all sitting up here beating and attacking on a black woman that's in power. Y'all should be ashamed of yourselves. All the stuff that y'all did to get people to come to our community, to just diss and down our community. Shame on y'all.
Listen, if you think I would ignore somebody as over-the-top corrupt as the super mayor, Tiffany A. Henyard, if she were a white woman, you need to have your head examined. That story is gold from top to bottom. And by the way, the entire village board of Dalton that is fighting against her is black, and 91% of the population that wants her out of office is black. So again, He's like, oh, there's black people in the thumbnail. He goes over all the Super Mayor videos as if that is the key defining factor in that particular story, when in reality, in actuality, that story is all about the craziness of one woman who rules a small town in the south suburbs of Chicago like a tyrant, and I will not apologize nor be besmirched by tomfoolery for covering this amazing tale that he is completely unaware of. And honestly, again, shame on y'all for being unaware of that.
Shame on y'all.
So if you didn't realize, with him completely glossing over the context of the Super Mayor story, which again is shameful that he doesn't know, then these two videos should have clued you in.
Black people, black people, black people.
So one right there is about the people, the citizens of Nassau County, being angry that they're considering a mask ban, and they say it's due to criminality, so I show surveillance video that is a mashup of criminals. Not all of them are black, but this was one of the most high-resolution images of a bunch of different people in surveillance video that were wearing the mask at that moment in time. The next one that he highlights is this one, which again, he is just uncomfortable because there are black people in the thumbnail. But what is the point of that particular story? Now, Tom, I understand that this might make you uncomfortable, but the reason why those black people were in the thumbnail is because they were actually correct in that story. The whole point of that video that he just dismissed as evil white racism based on the thumbnail was the fact that somebody on Twitter.com cut up a local news segment that featured these black people to make it seem like they were trying to steal something post an eviction. And I ended up looking into it, and what I discovered is that the police throwing this stuff out in the landfill, they were completely wrong to do so. It was a waste of taxpayer dollars because these black people knew the eviction law better than them. And when property is put out, it is free to take. And again, the whole point of the video was the police were wrong, these people were right, and anybody who cuts up the video to post it on social media in a misleading way, like the person did on Twitter in that particular case, is a bad person trying to play to the worst instincts of people that may be out there in the audience.
A black person, looks like a black person on that one. I can't really tell on that one.
Look, I know white guilt makes people into absolute cowards. I've seen it a million times, but this is one of the worst examples of that I've seen. And he goes over a bunch of different videos. Again, he assumes racism in a video that's about slip and fall schemes. It's not really about black people, even if that person in the thumbnail right there is a black person that actually highlighted a law firm that was running the scheme and caught on surveillance making the crack in the sidewalk in order to have this guy trip over the sidewalk so that he could sue the building owner.
Can't tell on that one either. Black woman, don't know, maybe brown, maybe white, so that could be one that's white.
The case that he highlights right there with the Sacramento district attorney is about her sending a warning to Target to stop calling 911. She's the Sacramento district attorney. Target is just Target, the company, so not even a person there, but okay.
Don't know, maybe brown, maybe white, so that could be one that's white.
And then when he hovers over the video, which starts playing a portion of it, he is weirded out by the fact that I highlighted the Snake Man right there, who also is a white guy, and I cover this story or mention this story repeatedly on this channel, who was convicted of 76 felonies in California, but because they're deemed nonviolent crimes, they ended up having to shift him to the county jail, not to the actual prison where he should have went, where repeat offenders definitely need to go. And because there's no room in the county jail, he was released. Again, not after 76 felony charges, after 76 felony convictions. And another reason that story jumped out to me is because the guy crawls like a snake through the robberies, and I find that to be hilarious. But this supervillain is a white guy, unmistakably.
Black woman, about crime.
I mean, again, just look at how stupid the analysis is that we're getting right here. He goes to Pamela Price, who, by the way, again, let that perpetrator out 8 days before he committed 5 robberies in 1 hour, and that was somebody that her office directly recommended for release. And he's like, oh, this is just about black people in the thumbnail. No, it's about the actions of the Alameda County District Attorney. And then he goes over to this one where I show the judge, and he's like, oh, well, that's a white judge.
white woman on there for the judge.
Again, not understanding the context of that particular case, where the judge shot down an appeal for a self-defense claim made by a black person that I 100% back in that instance, because the standard that was put forward by the Minnesota Supreme Court about the duty to retreat was absolutely insane. That man was faced with a 3-on-1 attack. Instead of retreating, because he was on a subway platform or a train platform, I believe it was above ground, so not a subway, he pulled out a weapon in order to chase off the criminals in an encounter that lasted 1 minute. When you read the decision, one of the things that they say is that this guy could have walked backwards at an angle in order to escape the situation, in order to avoid potentially threatening these people with the deadly weapon. Nobody was injured. He pulled out the weapon. He was able to scare off the criminals. By the way, one was armed with the knife that came at him first, threatened to kill him, and the other criminals sprung out at him in succession, so he didn't know if the 3 attackers he was facing were the only 3 people that he would be facing. So maybe walking backwards down a flight of stairs is a ridiculous standard to hold him to, but that's the case that I was defending right there. But that counts as white judge.
White woman on here for judge. Kamala and Biden. Black woman. Like, it's just it's like such a large majority of them. Like, it's so many, dude. It's just so many that it gets to an undeniable point where you're like, okay, this is like 85, 90%.
Yeah, tomfoolery, you're an idiot. I just want you to know that. That is at an undeniable level based on your ridiculous analysis of my thumbnails, which of course ends up cutting off when you scroll down, and then there are more white people in the thumbnails. Not that that is indicative of a standard of what the content of the video actually is. It is just the thumbnails. And by the way, one of the ones that he highlighted was this guy right here.
Many, dude. It's just so many.
The story was about how the city that he lived in, the small town, gave him a tax bill of 4,000% higher than the previous year based on a faulty assessment. He was unambiguously the victim in that story, and spoiler alert, I didn't say pay those taxes because you're a minority. I backed him 100%. So if you have even a black victim in the thumbnail in a story where he's not victimized by another black person, that is evil white racism for tomfoolery and his ridiculously stupid analysis. Look, bad faith criticisms, ridiculous criticisms, that's an everyday thing for me. Being called names like racist. Perfectly normal, unfortunately, because that's what these people do when they're too lazy to actually do the research into the person that they're talking about. But this particular segment right here, whole other level. This particular segment right here, ridiculously stupid. This particular segment right here seems like it would embarrass even Lance from the Surfs, although, to be fair, I don't know if I want to hoist that burden on Mr. Tomfoolery, because maybe the Surfs thinks this is absolutely an amazing analysis, and he wish he thought of that, because he is that dumb, and I don't want to claim anybody is less smart than Lance from the Surfs. But I want to know what you guys think down in the comments below. Did this guy get me dead to rights? Is it really undeniable based on the thumbnails alone? Or was this the worst analysis that you've ever seen? Again, all your thoughts down in the comments below. Also, one of the lines of defense that I'm expecting from this guy is for him to play victim because, oh no, bigger channel attacks smaller channel. That's mean and totally uncalled for, even though he put out this ridiculous criticism about me in public. Probably would stand by it, never even think about it again if I didn't address it. And when you say something out there in the public sphere, you are expected, or you should expect, the potential at least for a response in the public spheres. But hey, those are just my thoughts. I want to know what you guys think down in the comments below. As usual, if you like the video, show them by leaving a like, subscribe for more content, follow me on the social medias, support me via the support links in the description of this video. This has been me talking about possibly the dumbest criticism I've ever received. Till next time.